In today's episode of the Tea Time Sewing, we're gonna make these cute little multi-purpose trays. There are two sizes that I'm gonna share. I've got the tiny little one here. It's so cute. It's great to be used as a thread catcher or to put your pin or sewing clips or seam ripper. The finished measurements are about 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch, and the depth is about 1/2 inch. I like to keep this on my sewing machine throat to put my pins or sewing clips when I remove them as I sew. And I've also got the larger version. The measurements of this one are about 6 inch by 6 inch, and the depth is about 1.5 inch. I like to place this around my sewing area to temporarily place my rotary cutter or thread or my pin cushion so they're not scattered all over the place. Or you can also place this around your kitchen counter to organize tea bags or your seasonings perhaps. So this is a fun project that you can do on a lazy afternoon or when you are up on a big project that takes a lot of time and you need a little bit of break and a sense of accomplishment. For the small little tray, you will need 2 charm packs or the 5-inch squares. One will be for the interior and another one will be for the exterior. And you will also need a little piece of batting. You want to cut your batting 4 inch by 4 inch or 1/2 inch smaller all around. I use batting because I've got tons of batting scraps. Now, in place of batting, you can also use fusible fleece or you can use interfacing if you want your trays to be more rigid or more firm. You can also use heavier stabilizers such as decor bond or craft fuse. So do as you like. Now for the larger trays, we're gonna use the 10-inch squares, or if you've got some leftover layer cake, you can also use them. And you will also need a piece of batting measuring 9 inch by 9 inch. To start with, you want to take your interior fabric and then you want to lay that wrong side up, and then take the batting and then you want to lay that on the wrong side. So you want to center the position of the batting so there should be 1/2 inch gap all around. And then what we're going to do, we're going to sew the batting in place. So I'm going to simply make an X, so from one diagonal angle to another, and do the same to the opposite side. So if you want to, you can pin this in place to hold the batting together for now. Or you can use glue basting or spray basting. And of course, if you're using fusible kind of interfacing, you can simply fuse the interfacing according to the manufacturer's instruction. Now, if you want, you can draw the X line first, but I'm just gonna eyeball it. Snip. Now I'm gonna go ahead and sew the opposite side. Wonderful. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the exact same thing for my smaller tray with my 5-inch squares. So I place my batting right on the center, and then I'm gonna go ahead and sew the X on the diagonal angle. Now we're gonna take the exterior piece and then we're gonna lay this right side down. So the right sides of the interior and the exterior should be touching each other at this point. And then we're going to sew this all around, leaving about 3 to 4 inch of opening at one of the sides. So if you want, you can pin this all around, but I will only use the pins to mark the opening. So this is gonna be my opening hole. So I'm gonna go ahead and start sewing from the first pin. And we're gonna sew with 3/8 of an inch of seam allowance. So I'm gonna go ahead and backstitch. Alright, so you want to do the same for the smaller tray. So lay the interior and exterior pieces right sides together and then sew all around, leaving about 2 to 3 inches of opening to turn the fabric inside out. Now, of course, before we turn the fabric inside out, we're going to clip the corners a little bit. So go ahead and trim off all the corners. Of course, be careful not to cut through the stitches. See what I mean as it being very functional? It is indeed. And I'm going to do the same with the smaller one. Now we're going to go ahead and turn the fabric inside out through the opening hole, of course. I'm pretty sure you guys are very expert in this. Okay, now you can go ahead and poke the corners. If you've got point turner, you can use your point turner, or you can use chopstick or knitting needle. So just make it nice and flat there. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and do the same with my smaller tray, and then I'm gonna go ahead and give them a good pressing. Now, while you're pressing your fabric, you may as well fold the raw edges of the opening hole towards the inside about 3/8 of an inch, and then press it as well. So here I've already pressed both of my fabrics. The next step will be to top stitch all around. So we're gonna top stitch this with 1/8 of an inch of seam allowance. And of course, as we do the top stitching, we will automatically close the opening hole. The last step for this project will be to create the depth of the tray. So what we're going to do, we're going to pinch the corner just like that. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and sew 1.5 inch from the very edge of the corner. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and mark it first, but I'm just going to go ahead and sew this directly. And of course, you want to make sure that the interior fabric is inside and the exterior fabric is outside facing you. All right, so you should end up with something like this now. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna repeat the same to all the corners of the fabric. So here I've got my large tray already done. So isn't it really cute, guys? Now we're gonna do the same with the small tray. So we're going to pinch the corner just like before. However, with the small tray, we're gonna sew about 1/2 inch from the edge. So smaller seam allowance, obviously, since this is smaller piece. Don't forget to backstitch. And if you want to reinforce the stitching by going back and forth a couple of times, it will be great. Awesome. And there they are, guys. Both of my trays are done. It was pretty fun, and I really enjoy making these little cuties. Now, of course, you can modify the size of this tray according to your liking, and you don't have to make it square. You can also make it rectangle if you wish to. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and have a wonderful day and happy sewing. Goodbye.